YouTube friends, hello. Another daylight stream is upon us today. I am so grateful that you have made it to part 13. I hope you enjoyed part 12. Wonderful to have you on board as always. Please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment at some point if you want to talk to me. I read all the comments. I don't respond to all of them, but I do read all of them. Unless you spoil something and then my mods remove it. But thank you for your support of this stream. As always, share it with people. If you think that anybody could benefit from watching this, share it. Share it, share it, share it, share it. Talk it up. Makes a huge difference. All right, let's go find that damn orb. Let's go figure out what it is, huh? Now that we had a lovely conversation with the elves. All that jazz. All right, we're gonna look at our goals. And yeah, the mysterious orb is what I want to be doing. She did not say more about the orb's origin or the intended use. So we literally don't know anything about it other than she wants us to go get it.
Hey. I'm glad it worked. Whatever you helped her do out there. I'm still not sure I totally get you, or what your deal is, but as long as you have her back, I'll have yours.
At least acknowledge him, Kratos. Like, even a grunt, buddy. Just stare at him. Alright, I still can't make it through those gold things, so...
Looking for something? We can head out the way we came.
Okay, so... I want to make sure... So it looks like we do have to go back to the gateway, and then that'll get us out toward...
Done exploring, Kratos?
Never done exploring, Freya. Always exploring. I'm a curious little guy. Curious little dudeski. I may look big and strong, but my capacity for finding loot and exploring is even stronger. Oh, yeah.
Look, over there.
All right, fine. I'll bite.
Bruna. Go ahead. Carve the letter.
Suna.
It's an incantation. I'll speak it. Suna.
Lovely. Working together is already opening doors for us.
Ah!
Is he always making puns like that?
Yes. Kratos, come on, big guy. You can at least... You could at least acknowledge that people are speaking to you.
We're blocked by more vines. Remember what to do?
No, I forgot, Freya. It's been a long 10 minutes watching you do... Guess I remember what to do. Oh my god, I messed this up. Okay. Try this again. 2, 3, 1. A two. A three. Oh boy, I hope I say this right. Gelisek, thank you for the raid. Welcome in. If y'all don't know who I am DrMick. I am a licensed couple and family therapist. I have a PhD in human development. And this is Game Sessions with a Therapist, where we play cool games.
Log in the river. It has something on it I don't recognize.
Talk about mental health therapy, psychology therapy, and more in an effort to destigmatize those things and bring information to people who wouldn't otherwise have it in a responsible and ethical way. I need Atreus.
Looks like soundstone to me. I'm sure those new arrows Brock gave you would make quick work of that.
But I don't... Must drive you nuts when the game is backseating. Yes, it does. It certainly does. Oh, there we go. I will always ask for a hint if I need it. Don't ever suggest whether I need a hint. It's a back... Oh, if you're new here, this is backseat and spoiler free. Don't tell me where to go, what to do, what I miss, anything like that. I like to figure stuff out on my own. And if you spoil, you're going to be banned, so don't do that. But I play these games in an attempt to analyze them using my therapist brain. So if you like the idea of having your favorite games analyzed by a therapist, I encourage you to check out my YouTube channel. Played some Flight Simulator. Nice. I love me some Flight Simulator.
It's true. Tyr's really alive?
Aye. Not exactly shipshape. He sleeps in a broom closet now. But he's adjusting.
How did you find him?
Largely, that's down to Atreus having figured out how to access the prophecies giants reserved for their own kind. We only learned of it ourselves after Thor and Odin came calling.
To your home? Is it still standing?
Barely. But all the violence was seemingly just a distraction to let Odin have a private word with Atreus.
Odin was alone with your son? Did he tell you what they spoke of?
Yes. He said that Odin invited him to Asgard to help him find his answers.
The answers he's rushing into fate in search of. That's troubling.
Now, something that's fascinating here is that we have an omniscient perspective. We know that Atreus went and talked to Freya. Kratos still doesn't know that. And one of the things that Atreus didn't consider when he went and did that was what would happen if at some point we reconcile with Freya. And I think this is going to create a very fascinating dynamic. For one, Freya didn't say to Kratos yet, you know your son came and talked to me, right? I'm sure she can assume that Kratos didn't know, because there's no way that Kratos would have allowed him to do that. It is interesting that she is willing to protect Atreus to an extent by not telling Kratos. And I actually, to an extent, I appreciate that she's not doing that. This is what detriangulation looks like a priori, where essentially she is recognizing that Atreus coming to her is for her and Atreus to manage. That for her to tell Kratos that Atreus found her is really only going to compromise her relationship with Atreus in while gaining, I guess, maybe some favor with Kratos. But really, the fact that Atreus went out to Freya without Kratos is between Atreus and Kratos. That's not for Freya to have a say about. And she doesn't have enough perspective on their dynamic necessarily to be able to really faithfully go in there and meaningfully involve herself here. That is for Atreus to tell Kratos that he did, or for Kratos to find out. And I think Kratos' anger, if he does indeed find out, if he directs it toward Freya, it is misplaced. His frustration should be with Atreus and with the dynamic that has been cultivated between the two of them that would lead Atreus to make a rash decision like that. So she is essentially detriangulating herself via omission here. She doesn't owe it to Kratos to tell him that his child came and found her. Now, That's part one. But part two here, I think, is going to be the more interesting piece of this. And I don't know that this is going to happen, but this is just a hypothesis that I'm going to put in my back pocket here of what I might anticipate. Atreus so badly wanted Freya to come around. And he wanted to be the one that made that happen. He is not the one that made that happen. One that made that happen is Kratos. I think that Atreus is going to be steaming a bit on the idea that he wants to be the one that did this. And I think it's going to be very hard for him to withhold that he went and talked to Freya if he is not having his ego in check here. Of like wanting to be like, you know, Dad, part of the reason that Freya even found you in the first place is because I went and talked to her. Like, if he uses that as a window to have that conversation, Atreus is going to miss the point of this too. The main issue with Atreus going and finding Freya is not so much about him going and finding Freya. It's about the fact that he did that behind Kratos' back because of some assumption that Kratos would say no, or because of some assumption that Kratos is weak and just trying to hide. And there's a dynamic there that's very complicated for them to have to navigate. And I don't think Atreus possesses the maturity to really navigate this well. And so I can see him being happy that Freya's around, but also disappointed that his dad is the one that had to do it and that he couldn't. And that may cause some strife between Kratos and Atreus that they're going to have to navigate. And Kratos is working with half a deck because he doesn't know that Atreus went and found Freya. Complicated. Deleting image file. Thank you for the sub. So anyway, I appreciate Freya not disclosing this to Kratos. And acknowledging that really that's for him and his son to figure out. At least that would be my assumption. And she would be right. Oh, absolutely Atreus was trying to force a reconciliation by trying to meet with her. And it was very misguided. And it was exactly what we would expect from a teenager. And I think Freya knows that, right? Like, I gave her a lot of credit back when Atreus showed up because she handled that incredibly well. In the same way that she's handled Kratos incredibly well. Freya is a hell of a character. I mean, she really...
Well, if you're ready to talk to him, the Mystic Gateway is ahead. If not, I have some unfinished business up this river I could use your help with.
Or we can follow up on that elven sanctum out in Alfheim's desert.
If you want to continue exploring, we'll need to remove that log in the river.
Oh, will we? Is that right?
What is this?
The crest of Skirnir. Never quite as smart as he thought.
Skirnir's crest. Though he comes from one of Vanaheim's oldest families, Skirnir never considered himself a Vanir. Never considered himself, well, much of anything, truth be told. Skirnir was loyal to no one but Skirnir. He was that particularly infuriating brand of intellectual who forever seeks to place himself above others by refusing to ever be pinned down on any specific philosophy. If there were an issue with two sides, Skirnir would find a way to stand right in the middle and declare himself superior to all. If there were a fence separating two pastures, he'd find a way to balance directly on its edge. When Odin visited his wrath upon Vanaheim, Skirnir learned the consequences of neutrality. Neither side could be sure where his loyalties lie, and so neither side could trust him. For Einherjar, that meant they'd chop his head off at the first available opportunity, which, given what the Vanir refused to provide him with shelter, came considerably sooner than Skirnir expected. Another one of those giant things.
Good. We can explore the river now. And hopefully right some old wrongs.
That'd be pretty neato, huh? So Skirnir's a Redditor. So it would seem. Hey, you want to grab this cheer drop for me, Freya? A drink from the dew of the world tree brings lasting benefits. Okay. So something that I think is really fascinating from a game design standpoint, if you think about what's going on, is this. One of the things that we've learned in this game is that when Kratos is not around and Atreus is being watched by Sindri, they get in trouble. Now, what I love is that Kratos probably has full faith that Sindri and Atreus are going to behave themselves while he's gone because he has loosened up the screws on Atreus. It makes me wonder if while we're frolicking around in Vanaheim, what are Atreus and Sindri doing? And the tension here is between us and the characters of the game, because I know that's in my mind, but it's not probably in Kratos' mind. And so it's like, what are we going to come back to? Are they just chilling in the cabin, having a good time? Or did Atreus go do some more dumb shit? Did he try to go talk to the snake? Did he try to go to another realm? Is he trying to go find more giants? What is he doing? I don't know about you, but I've been thinking about that while we're out here. Yeah, he's out for a nice long pee. Just good tension. Makes you wonder, because he's shown a propensity for that. I want to go... to... I needed to go left at the... This way, Freya.
What is your unfinished business?
I left something behind, near the falls.
Your wedding site. Now, why do you want to be going back there?
To be free of the bonds of my marriage. And to Asgard.
I think you severed that a long time ago.
Not completely. Not enough.
Guide us.
Oh, wow. Okay. Freya's missing piece. Reach the entrance of Freya's wedding shrine. Cool.
Freya, something your brother said. The Aesir burned him.
Yes. We weren't yet at war, but relations with the Vanir and Aesir had been hostile for ages. Freyr got it into his head that he could improve relations by sharing our magic with them. Vanir techniques for bountiful harvests, enough to feed their whole population. Getting set on fire was the thanks he got.
It's true. The Aesir were too undisciplined and impatient for the subtlety of Vanir spellcraft. So when things went wrong, they blamed their teacher.
So Freya was a guest when Odin burned him?
Not exactly. Odin didn't mind locking Freyr up. He saw the potential of the magic and wanted to know more than how to improve crop yields. It was a mob of lesser Aesir, bitter and short-sighted, who tied him up and lit him aflame as punishment for the sabotage they imagined him guilty of. Obviously, he survived. In fact, he used the opportunity to escape. But such an affront made war inevitable.
Freyr certainly wasn't the same after that. At least for a while. His carefree ways were replaced with nightmares, paranoia, and lashing out. It doesn't excuse what he said at my wedding, but I do understand where his anger came from.
Freya, you just... If you want to have a sophisticated and deep approach to your relationships that are meaningful to you, the last thing that Freya said there is deeply important for all of us to learn from. And it's something that I have to teach a lot when I do couples therapy in particular, which is that you can make the effort to understand and validate an emotional experience that a person is having And validation of that experience does not mean that you agree or that you condone the response that that person had to the emotion. So she can say, I appreciate and understand that my brother was angry. I am willing to be curious about that anger. I know where it comes from and why it was present. That's validation. He gets to be angry. What's not okay is the response that he chose while he was angry, which was to say what he said at my wedding. That is so sophisticated because the importance of that is when you want to problem solve something with people, you have to validate the emotional experience that that person is having because they will feel heard and they will feel understood. And then you problem solve the response. So you hold people accountable to what they chose, which is what they, not even so much what they thought, but what they did with that thought. And you acknowledge that they didn't necessarily have control of the emotional response. A lot of people go into, you shouldn't have been angry. No. He gets to be angry. And you can acknowledge that anger, which means you do not have to agree with why he was angry, and you don't have to agree with the response he had to his anger. But the anger was present, regardless of whether you agree with it or not. So acknowledging that for him shows him that you know where he's coming from. And I love her ability to articulate that succinctly. Fantastic. And we can all learn from it. She'd probably do pretty well, Dante. Yeah, Shadow, I prefer to stop moving when they talk, just so we can enjoy the interaction. Now, okay. Here's another thing that we're going to talk about as it relates to this, which is Kratos is an incredibly observant man. He spends a lot less time putting into the environment than he does pulling from the environment as it relates to like observation and dynamics. Him being present in this boat with Freya, I'm sure has a similar effect on him that sitting in the boat with Faye would have had, which is that he gets to see empathy well represented. Meaning that if he listens closely to what Freya said there, even if it's not something he personally has had much experience with, he can work to try to translate that into his own life and the demands of his own relationships. In this case, probably with Atreus, where, let's say, he finds out from Atreus that he went and talked to Freya. Well, he could acknowledge that Atreus was afraid, worried, empowered, confused, whatever it is, and he can still hold him accountable and be angry about the fact that he went and found Freya. And if he can make that separation, he's going to have a lot more meaningful engagements with his son. This is why I'm such a strong believer in how important it is to observe, to surround yourself by people that engage in ways that we would consider to be healthy and useful and meaningful. Because you can learn just by watching the way that certain people orient themselves to their relationships and to their relationships. Is it the same thing? No, but the process that is an undercurrent there of validate the emotion and hold accountable for the behavior is something that Kratos could absolutely absorb and use to his advantage when engaging with his son, and I hope that he does. And I think that's why Kratos has been able to develop as strongly as he has throughout these two games, is because of how much time he spends observing his surroundings and the people within it.
My people settled this river many ages ago. Thousands traveled it on pilgrimage to the shrine of worship. But then the Aesir came. This is all that's left.
Man, this is beautiful. The hell is that noise? Guy playing a vuvuzela over here.
Reavers, of course.
Minecraft zombie, yeah. Oh. Howdy, folks.
It's explosive! Be careful!
Oh.
That brazier. Maybe it could help with those vines.
Yes, that is my thought exactly, Freya. Why don't you just give me a second to do it? Good Lord.
Well done.
Thanks. I almost figured it out myself.
The Noken song. Stay alert.
Oh, God.
That Noken's healing its friends, brother.
Last one.
Another drawbridge. We'll need to lower it.
Okay. Okay. So if we go here. Can't reach that. Well, first let's do this.
What's it say, brother?
Dead on arrival. A warning to all who pass this spit of land. The dead here do not die. Rain or shine, in the heat of the day and the chill of the night, they follow their master's will. Leave now, whether you value your life or peace in your death. Do not want the prison of this magic. Necromancy haunts the dirt beneath your feet. All right. So let's try this. We need to figure out a way this to chain. Oh. Let's think. Oh, bam. Okay, so if I was trying to burn this thing up, what I would need to do is this.
Something hanging from that tree above us.
There we go. Yep. Now that thing needs to light that, and then, okay. So we're going to go over here. Go like this. And then... Nope, 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 nope. My bad. We need to spin this guy around.
There must be a way to transfer the fire from one side to the other.
Yes, there is indeed. And one of the ways that we're going to do that is by using your arrows. Oh, god damn it. You're like this. You're like this. You're like this. And then... Really? That's not going to do it? Wait a second. Okay. Interesting. So we have, okay, so that lit. Unless it needs to be like that. There's no way that that's it, though. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. So you actually have to... All right, now I get it. Boom. Okay.
Looks like that worked.
Yeah.
Well, that did it.
Ooh. Okay. Boom. Good shit. As a reminder, chat, I don't appreciate backseating and unsolicited advice. The game does enough of it. Don't ruin the fun. I know it comes from a good place. I know you want me to figure out. If it's just too excruciating for you to watch me figure it out, I don't know what to tell you. Got that figured out.
You know, I would have beaten you
What?
earlier if Atreus hadn't been there.
Perhaps.
We could go again, find out for certain.
I would rather not.
I'll bet you wouldn't.
Patience is piety.
What is wrong?
Please, leave me to my prayers. I await Freya, the great healer.
I am here.
She will cure me. I have been a loyal follower. She would not abandon.
I am Freya. What do you need?
Only she can cure my sickness. With mangold, mire, and poem.
We must help her.
She demands a cure. She is dead.
She is trapped here, ignorant of her own death. If we bring her what she needs, she'll move on.
You're certain?
I'm not going to do nothing. She needs mangold, mire, and palm. We should find some.
All right. I appreciate that. Something I appreciate about Kratos is that he knows what he's capable of. He knows how strong he is. And he never lets that go to his head. Like, some of the best leaders and powerful forces are people who understand that power and also understand the limitations of it, and that it doesn't necessarily transcend context. Just because Kratos can eviscerate all of Greece doesn't mean that he understands how to help a ghost pass on in death. And his willingness to allow Freya to take control there and to share her expertise and to offer what she has to offer is awesome. And Kratos has reached a point where he doesn't see people filling in the gaps of his competence as a threat. He sees it as a boon. No longer does he let insecurity show up at the door. He acknowledges reality. And I really, really give him a lot of credit for that. I mean, in some ways, we would hope that that's how he would be. But given his experience and what he learned, I think it's okay to give him some kudos for that. So he might say, "Are you sure?" Because that's more of a reflection that he's not sure. So he wants some reassurance from Freya that she knows what she's talking about. She goes, "Yeah, that's what we're going to do." And then he goes, "Okay." And he's even done that with Atreus in this playthrough. Now that Atreus is older, he does it with Brock and Sindri. I really believe that one of the hallmarks of Kratos' character, from like a health and positivity standpoint, is that he is willing to acknowledge his limitations and defer to others when he needs to, and does not take that personally. And that's a really cool thing. And watching the way that he just navigated that little quest start with Freya is a great example of that. He even takes her goading in stride. She's like, I could have beat you back there. He's like, maybe, like, the fact that he's willing to entertain, yeah, maybe you could have. I don't know. Probably not. Maybe you could have. That's a more realistic picture. A lot of people worry they have to double down, that they can never show any vulnerability, or that they have to know everything, that they have to... No, like, you don't have to know everything. And Kratos has come to appreciate that other people have things to offer. He doesn't have to be a one-man band anymore. And, I mean, in some ways, has alluded to the fact he doesn't really want to be.
Well, lady, I was curious about some of the flora we've encountered on our travels.
And you will remain curious. It's not my job to teach you everything, Mimir.
Look, I was just asking.
And you have been told.
You can say that again.
This is a very benign example relative to some of the real world implications of something like this. But it's a great opportunity for me to talk about. What does a sliver of allyship for marginalized communities look like when you are in a position of dominance and hold privilege? Mimir has this sense that he can just ask whatever he wants, and she says, well, you're going to remain curious. I don't want to talk about it. And he pushes back a bit on her. Maybe out of a bit of surprise that she was willing to set that boundary with him and assert that over him. And he pushes back. And so many men, in this case, will just sit back and watch that happen. Or not even notice that it's a problem. Or might even say, well, Freya's a force of her own. She'll figure it out. But Kratos backs her up. He uses his position of privilege relative to Mimir to look at him and say, knock it off. She told you. You have been told. Which is a way of empowering Freya. It allows Mimir to see that Freya is important, what her boundaries matter, and that Kratos empowering those boundaries and telling him to knock it off forces that perspective on it. It's very much the, if you see something, say something. Now, I realize that there are situations in real life where it actually could be dangerous to speak up. You might actually make the situation worse. But in this case, that's a bit of a dynamic that showed its head. Mimir makes a request. Freya sets a boundary. Mimir tries to push past it. Well, that kind of shit's not going to fly here. So Kratos backs Freya up by saying, you've been told. He doesn't make it about him. He doesn't say, Mimir, I'm going to knock your teeth out if you keep pushing that boundary. He says, Freya told you to knock it off, and that's legitimate. So knock it off. And he does. And that's awesome. And if you're parents in that kind of situation, that's the importance of co-parent and consistency between parents. What did your mom say? Well, that's how it goes then. Kids learn really quick, as do other people, that they can't get away with shit like boundary crossing when they're being held accountable at all levels. Not just from bottom to top, but lateral accountability is very important. It's showing Mimir that Freya is one of us now and she's to be taken seriously. And that's not white knighting. It's backup. Man, all this tasty dew going on here. Yeah, me too, Seth.
Anything interesting, brother?
Living masterpiece. There is truly no greater medium than a living, thriving tree. Every branch a canvas. This mighty elder and I work in tandem to achieve the impossible. My hand perhaps guides, my ties and forms persuade a pattern, but it is through this sacred giant's prosperity does my work take shape. May my art always go over the heads of all those who would try to look upon it. It is not for you. I wasn't ready for that last paragraph. That's so good. May my art always go over the heads of all those who would try to look upon it. It is not for you. Oh, man. So good.
Find that orb yet?
No. Still looking. Don't you worry. Ooh, wait a second. Where's that chest? I'm not sure, Ryan. I'm sure there's probably somebody in chat who could identify it better than I could.
Above you! Watch out!
Whoa. Whoa. All right, hold on one second. Just gotta take care of something. The one problem with doing this during the day. Is I gotta respond to stuff sometimes. While Freya waits. Okay, there we go. Good stuff. You! Hi!
What is wrong?
I died. And you will help me.
Of course, Gunhild. But to what end?
When the Einherjar came, we needed a way to fight back. I suggested say their magic.
I understand your desperation, but that was foolish.
Clearly. I was lucky enough to be murdered before my mind could be corrupted, as theirs did. You must free them.
Of course.
Okay.
Say their magic corrupts so ruthlessly. Those poor souls must be in agony.
Then we shall give them death.
Shall give them death. Freya and Kratos are merciful. All right, so we got FRP. Let's go here so that I can chuck my axe at this one. Okie dokie. Thank you, Garnar, for the 39 months. Love you, buddy.
My friends' souls are still twisted, aren't they? Give them the fruit of death.
Hi, madame.
Now, how do we get up there, I wonder?
We can't. Not with those vines in the way.
Whatever will we do about the vines in the way? Oh, you can't shoot the chain. Okay. Oh, good. Love this. Come here.
Impressive!
Yeah. It's nothing, really. Alright, so shoot that. Shoot that. Shoot that. And we go like this. Damn it. I have to say, the Freya's arrow thing, maybe not my favorite part of the... No backseating allowed. All right, the R. Now we got to get the F.
Please, please end their suffering.
Working on it. Working on it. I really want to know what this orb is. Really want to know. Damn, I did not think Kratos was going to be able to make that jump. All right, let's go here. I guess we go here. And here.
Looks like that worked.
Hell yeah, it did. Because I'm SMRT. Oh. Oh boy. Well, what's a little poison? Well, I guess.
armor piece bearing Lunda's brand. Shame it's broken. Nice bit of work otherwise.
Oh, cool.
Why leave it?
You suspicious of her, brother?
If the orb she seeks is important, she would not have left it behind.
Perhaps.
I find Kratos' logic sometimes to be very in a vacuum. Like, that's a bit of an oversimplified way of looking at this. Oh, if it was important, she wouldn't have left it behind. Maybe. How much shit have you left behind, even though it was important? I notice how Atreus
So,
isn't with you right
what's
now.
it like being back?
Like I haven't come back at all. Everything's changed. I'm a stranger here.
I know the feeling.
Might have been variably.
The runic word appeared over there. See it? Mecking. We should be able to reach the wedding site now.
Oh. We'll go there soon enough. I want to elaborate a little bit more on Kratos' perspective here about if it was important, she wouldn't have left it behind. That is actually adult inductive reasoning that is steeped in the privilege of what it is to be a god of war and ridiculously strong and able to hold your own basically in any battle you ever have. Like this idea that she should have fought for it or wouldn't have forgotten it or whatever. It presupposes that she has the ability to defend herself at any point in time where this thing may have been taken from her or lost. Which is Kratos using his own experience and his own privilege to try to make sense of what it is that's going on for her. And it misses the mark. Because yeah, Kratos, if something's important to you, you fight to the death for it, and you're the one that comes away ahead every single time, because nobody's as strong as you. You literally have the ability to walk into any realm, any context you want to walk into, and exert influence on it. Not everybody has that, dude. And all of us are guilty of doing this. All of us are guilty of taking our own subjective experience, our own abilities and orientation to the world, and making assumptions that that's the case for other people who may have other contexts that are entirely different from our own, and who have different degrees of ability to influence the environment that they're in. Fact of the matter is, we know nothing about why this orb would have been lost. It could be the most important thing in the world, and it was lost because some real shit went down. So Kratos making this assumption that you should just be able to hold on to anything that's important to you it's misguided because of his own inductive reasoning. You don't just always use deductive reasoning as an adult, by the way. Like we all use inductive reasoning. It's easier. So he's a little bit oversimplified in the way that he's viewing that. And it comes out as judgment. And as somebody in a position of power, him casting that judgment on her because of his own projected privilege is not a very good proposition. And it's one that can lead to a lot of disconnect between him and the people around him. Now,
As long as they still haunt this realm, so will I.
all right, now I gotta find this other spinny madoodle thingy majigger. Now, I can't imagine it's going to be that far away. Also, that's a very interesting raven to have to take out. Which we would have to take out from up there. May have been hasty when I jumped down back there. By the way, YouTube and Twitch, whichever spot you're in while you're watching this, I appreciate you hanging out with me and being here. A lot of fun doing these streams. I like how this one changes the pace a little bit, where we're just kind of doing some side quests and doing some random stuff. But I am grateful to have your support. I appreciate you watching these streams and engaging with my content in the way that you do.
Safer this way. We'll need to find another way around.
All right. Whee! Oh, one of these guys.
Ah, that's it.
Ah, well, that's easy enough. Could have been a lot more difficult. All right, there's a raven. Do I gotta Hail Mary this? I think that's probably too far away. Yeah. Woo! Thank you, Variably. That's kind of you to say.
The closer we get, the more tightness grows in my chest.
You're sure you want to continue?
Confronting the past comes with a price.
It must be done. I've lived with this pain far too long. If you can believe it. We were happy once. For a time, foolishly believed the peace would last. Perhaps that was my mistake. All I wanted was to protect my family.
There is no shame in that.
I failed, all the same.
We will figure out a way to get up there. Hanging bodies there is a little eerie.
Those scrawlings must be Sather nearby.
Okay.
Lunda's ore.
Be cautious. We know not what it does.
You really think she'd send us to get the bloody thing if it was going to kill us? Let's just take it back to her.
I completely understand why Kratos is hesitant here. We don't know her. We don't know anything about her intentions. Just because Brock vouches for her doesn't necessarily mean she's great. Kratos at any point in time could be attacked or have to deal with some bullshit. His hesitance there is okay. I think Mimir being blindly optimistic about that is a bit more surprising to me than Kratos being like, I don't know if we can trust this thing. He doesn't know what it is. Uncertainty is the root of anxiety. The anxiety literally exists because we are not able to anticipate what's going to happen next, or we don't know what something is. And from an evolutionary perspective, when you don't know what something is, it means that it's possible that it's risky, which means that it could kill you, which means that you need to protect yourself, which is why we have the physiological sensation of anxiety, to get us to do something, either to fight or fly. Sometimes we freeze. So when Kratos has this mysterious object that she was not willing to give us any information about, being in the presence of that object and picking it up and being skeptical about it is a way to orient himself toward the anxiety. It's essentially to say, like, I kind of want to avoid this. I don't know that I trust this. And so for Mimir to just be like, well, do you really think she would do that if she was trying to kill us? Like, maybe that's exactly what a person who would try to kill us would do, is give us something that we wouldn't anticipate. And you got to be careful with that kind of mindset, because then that could breed paranoia. But Kratos being hesitant here about that and experiencing maybe some degree of anxiety about what this orb is and what it does, I think is totally reasonable. And asking for more information about it before going on that errand would certainly behoove him. And I think that if she wants him to find the orb, she owes it to him to give him whatever information he wants, so he can make an informed decision about whether to go after it. But it makes complete sense why he'd be skeptical of that. I find Mimir's reaction to that to be the odd thing. Well, that's convenient. Good thing that was just chilling there, so I could chuck it right next to the thing that needed to be chucked next to. Alright, so we've got... Interesting indeed. I'll bet I can chuck this thing at that. Okay. I'm wondering... Oh, okay. So if we go...
Sigil arrows won't work on this.
Really?
That's it.
Boom. Let's go. Nom 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 nom. 1 of 4. Holy crap. Alright, we got a long way to go then on that. Thanks, Dante.
More Sather markings. Gunhild's companions can't be that far ahead. Look what they've done to this place.
Man, this is grim. Tough rope.
Looks like more of Lunda's old armor. Nearly have the complete set now.
Nice.
Sigil arrows won't work on this.
Okie dokie. Oh. Hello there, Odin's Raven.
That's another raven sent to the Tree of the Dead. Perhaps we should check up on it, hmm?
Ultimate Monkey, thank you for the 5-month sub. I appreciate that. Thanks for making the internet a healthier place. I'm doing my best, friend. Thank you very much for the kind words. We're finding a lot of these guys today.
Good thing you learned the runes, brother.
Indeed. Your sacrifice. Okay. I fear devotion is waning amongst the others. If we're to drive the Aesir from Vanaheim, there are things we must do without hesitation. Sacrifices must be made, and if I'm the only practitioner with enough courage to make them, then so be it. In life do I scream, in death do I sing. In blood do I trust. I am the vengeance of these lands. I do too, Blue. By the way, Blue, I wanted to ask you, did you send the thing yet to my P.O. box? Because I checked a couple days ago and it wasn't there. No pressure.
Over there.
I just want to make sure I didn't miss it.
Those are the lost Sather spirits, friends of Gunhild.
They don't look very friendly anymore, do they?
Let us put them to rest.
It's unstable! Get back!
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, no, that's totally fine, Blue. I just wanted to check in because you had mentioned it. And I just wanted to make sure that if you did,
We should get
I didn't
moving.
miss it. Yeah, no problem. You can DM me or whatever.
It's unstable! Get back!
Alright, we gotta find Mama Plant. Oh, there it is. Yeah! Die.
The family crest of Kvasir the Wise. More like Kvasir the Inebriated, in truth.
Oh, Kvasir's crest, huh? Ah, Kvasir, the legendary Lush. Stories call him wise beyond words. The inventor of poetry, they say. When he died, his friends mixed his blood with honey to create the mead of poetry, said to imbue any who imbibed it with the power of lyrical wisdom. All bollocks, of course. Kvasir was great for one thing and one thing only, throwing back drinks. Not to disparage him in the slightest, most of us can only hope to be as good at anything as Kvasir was holding his alcohol, but his poetry often took the form of progressively more imaginative forms of profanity, and those who drank his blood only felt inspired because the Sot's fluids were at least 50% booze by the time he finally keeled over. Really funny bloke, though. Knew his way around a double entendre. What a guy.
think that's the last of them.
Damn it. I knew these souls. I would have thought them smarter than to meddle with Sather magic.
They were desperate.
And now they are dead. Good riddance.
You blame yourself.
And
It will not lessen your pain.
let's return to Gunhild. Unless you'd like to condescend more?
I do not.
Dr. Mick, why do people personalize things if all it does is cause them pain, as Kratos suggested? It's a great question. Control. We often overestimate our sphere of influence and the things that we can control. A lot of people underestimate the things they can actually control, and they overestimate the things that they can, that they cannot. Did I say that right? They underestimate the things they can control, and they overestimate the things that they cannot. When people struggle to make sense of things that happen that are difficult to comprehend, one of the easiest ways for us to maintain a narrative and a sense of control over it is to personalize it, is to assume that it's our fault or that we could have done something different. You will actually see this dynamic a lot when people are around loved ones that perhaps are like diagnosed with something like cancer or something, and or they get in a car crash and there's nothing that you could have actually done about it. But you'll hear people who are valent to that say things like, oh, if only I would have known that that was going to happen. If only I would have said or done this, maybe it would have changed it. The reality is probably not. You're probably overestimating. You're trying to take control of a situation that was out of your hands. And so Freya here blaming herself for the fact that this happened because she was supposed to protect everybody. One, it's not particularly realistic to assume that she was going to be able to protect every single person. And two, these things could have happened because of factors that had absolutely nothing to do with her. The reality is she showed up when she could, and by the time she showed up, things didn't go the way she wanted it. And if she over-personalizes that as a way to understand it better, and as a way to say, like, this will never happen again because it was because of me, so I can make sure it never happens again, it's pretty misguided because it's not actually going to help, because there's no way that she could ever possibly manage the entire world and control it. It's misplaced control when we personalize things. Sometimes it has nothing to do with you. You just have to sit in the pain and the confusion of that. Her reading of Kratos' condescension there, I think, is interesting, because I think that that is more of a projection of her own self-judgment than it is Kratos being condescending. Kratos, I don't think, has really ever shown himself to be condescending. Condescending would suggest that Kratos wants her to feel like shit about herself and that he wants her to feel subordinate to the situation. And there's really no reason for him to want that for her. It doesn't suit him or her. There's no utility to it. I think what Kratos was doing was just stating a reality of his own and an observation that he had. And I think because Freya is judging herself for her inability to get to save these people, she is assuming that he's being condescending because she thinks that he shares the judgment that she's casting on herself. And that is not true. At least I don't think it is. You got to be careful not to do that, because when you assume that other people share the judgments you have about yourself, you will orient yourself to them that way, and it will color the way that you perceive them coming towards you. And it may lead to disconnection as a result, because that's not actually what they're bringing to the table. You just think it is because you're caught up in your own shit.
Just gorgeous. I wish things had gone differently. But these Sather are at rest now.
They are. Minor physics thing, but I struggle to see how pulling down on that rope or on that chain leads to the bridge going down. Wouldn't you want it to go up? So you're releasing the tension so that it goes down? I could be wrong. Any civil engineers here that could tell me I'm wrong? What's up, Isaac? Guess it's counterbalanced somehow. It must be. Well, it's technically illuminated. Call to arms. I think you're lifting the counterweight technically. Cool. All right, good to know. To the veneer of Vanaheim, my sister has abandoned us. Odin has turned our realm into a prison, and Freya has fled with the key. There's only one path forward, and it will not be a pleasant one. We'll take up arms. We will show the Aesir whose realm this is. We'll go to war, Freyr.
We'll have to find a way through this debris.
Really? That didn't ignite that? Guessing I probably overcomplicated this. I don't think I am. Maybe I have to blow up both pots at the same time. Huh.
Sigil arrows won't work on this. Looks like that worked.
Okay. Whatevs, we got it. Lingering area of effect attack that creates a small hazard, inflicting frost status to all enemies inside. Okay.
What did you find?
I found a thing. Big important thing. Alright, now I need to open this. And there's a spinny thing somewhere that I haven't seen. And I need to find it. Because we got that guy. There's the one over there. And then... probably one that's... Oh, there it is. All right. See? Easy peasy. Okay, let's talk to this person.
Is it done?
It is
Are
done.
they dead?
Done.
Your friends are at peace.
Good.
And I'm sorry. Had I been here, I would have prevented this.
Do you think us lost babes, incapable of making our own choices?
No, but
We made a mistake, but it was ours to make, not yours to prevent. Even if you had been here.
Yes, you're right. Goodbye, Gunhild.
Goodbye, my goddess.
Let that be a lesson. Parents, you should not prevent all of the adversity that could come by the way of your child or your teenager or your young adult. Adversity, we only learn how to navigate adversity by experiencing adversity. And there are so many caregivers, in particular parents, who see it as their role to ensure that their children or their constituents never experience adversity or any issues. And if you work your ass off to ensure that your kids never experience adversity, then what you have passively done is taught them that they will never experience adversity or that they'll be bailed out of it. And they will not learn how to navigate it on their own. They will not learn how to think their way through adversity, which is ultimately what we need to do. Consequences need to happen. Do we want to control as best we can and ensure that the consequences that come our way are not super dangerous or really, really, really bad? Of course we do. But you've got to let adversity happen. You have to facilitate people thinking their way through the adversity they face. And this example here with Freya is really important because she's like, I could have prevented this. And she's like, nah, we needed to learn. We needed to deal with this. This was our adversity to face, not yours to prevent. We don't need that. You think we're that weak? Because you do in some ways passively reinforce, particularly as people get older, that you think that they're not capable of handling things on their own, which is usually an act of trying to reinforce the caregiver role that you have because you want to feel good about the fact that you're taking care of people. And so you rely on their well-being to reinforce that for you, which arguably is quite selfish. So allow people to experience adversity, know your place as a caregiver, and help scaffold that process. Be there to support when the adversity happens and your kid or whoever needs to talk to you about it. And think about what they learned from it and what they could use going forward. That's how you facilitate really good critical thought where people will survive their environment better. Not when you just do everything for them or make sure that they never experience any pain or discomfort. The only way we learn is by doing. Conceptual knowledge is important, but you got to experience adversity to really get a grasp on it and know your orientation toward it. Raphael, hello. Hello, Brazil. Love how many countries hang out here.
Kratos, thank you for taking the time to help my people.
I helped no one. They were already dead.
Oh, but you did. You put their spirits at ease, and that has eased my spirit as well. I feel lifted.
Enjoy it. It will not last.
You're right. There are most certainly other corrupted sisters out in the realms.
You always know how to end on a cheery note, brother.
Truly, it's another example of the way in which Kratos is using his own experience to try to connect or understand and be pragmatic, in his case, about something that somebody else is experiencing. It will not last. He doesn't know that. Maybe it didn't last for him. Maybe he's constantly seeking to help because he doesn't ever quite feel fulfilled because there's always more to do. That doesn't mean that's the case for Freya. Kratos, I think, sometimes overly focuses on the pragmatics. He focuses on the diminishment of emotion, no matter what that emotion is, whether it is satisfaction, relief, or whether it's anger. He sees indulgence of an emotional experience as dangerous or non-utilitarian. And not quite. It's okay for her to experience some relief here. It's okay for her to acknowledge that she feels good about the fact that they took care of this. It is always okay for us to validate and take some time to appreciate what our emotional orientation to the world is. When we act poorly in response to it, that's an issue. That's what he's been trying to teach Atreus. But there's really, Kratos doesn't need to do what he just did here in diminishing her experience by saying it won't last as a way to try to counterbalance emotion with pragmatism. Like it's not really necessary. It doesn't play much of a role here other than to disconnect him from Freya. Which maybe he wants, because with Ragnarok upon him, connecting with all these people makes it all the more difficult to know the world is going to end. Because it's hard to leave when you feel connected and satisfied with your relationship. So keeping people at a distance is potentially a coping strategy that's a compensation for the fact that Ragnarok is upon him. We don't know, but that's a hypothesis. Let's go get that chest.
Mimir, I never asked how it felt to lose your head.
What would you have me say? That it tickled?
Merely curious.
If you wish to derive some satisfaction from my pain, I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. Kratos swung swift and true, didn't you, brother? I felt nary a scratch.
Shame.
Yes, I was swift and true. While we sail over to the wedding site, I also will remind everybody who's watching this playthrough, as I like to do periodically, I don't claim to be right about any of this. This is just my perspective. I could be completely wrong about what Kratos' intentions were. The thing about these games is that I don't have the ability to ask them directly the questions I would need to ask to get into their intentions and to their experience. So I'm just kind of lending my perception to what's going on. So there are other folks who might play this and watch this and have other perspectives on what's going on here and what Kratos' potential intentions were. And that's the beauty of psychology and relationships, is that the best way to find out is to talk to people directly. But I don't claim to be right in these. They're just opportunities for me to illustrate certain concepts that come to mind.
I must say, I think we make a good team. With my brains, Kratos' brawn, and my lady's,
Wisdom, magic, ability to tolerate you for long periods of time.
I was going to say brutality.
That works.
I like their dynamic a lot. Oh, these are hostile. They are hostile. Oh, I thought I hit that. He looks like the guy from Altered Beast. I didn't know that one. Ooh, a little dwarven steel up there, huh? Let's get up there.
Do you know why I left that night, Mimir?
Only a hunch.
He showed me who he really was. Odin asked me to cast a protection spell on him. The one I used on my son. But the way it drove our boy mad, I refused. He was furious, throwing every object he could find, destroyed the room. There was only coldness after that. I tried to make it work, but...
No one could have lived like that, Your Majesty.
Jugger, thank you for the 27 months. Did she marry Odin? Am I reading that correctly? If it's a spoiler to answer that, don't answer it. But my,
Learn anything?
did we know that already? Oh, okay, so she was married. Okay, all right. I was just say that. Okay, got it. All right, we knew that. Good. Got it. No one said this journey would be easy, yet I do find myself questioning how far I thought I'd go to finish the pilgrimage. On the way up, my foot slipped, causing me to stumble. My heart seized in my chest, and I felt I may perhaps perish at the hand of this cliff face. Thankfully, I was able to catch myself, but I suffered a nasty scrape on my knee. I believe blisters may also form on my hands as a result of the rough rocks. My back seems to have also taken to complaining about the pack I've borne for the past few days. While I'm thinking about it, my head has also begun aching. My point here is that if I can make this journey, I believe anyone can as well. Brian, thank you for the 28 months. Would you just have to one-up Jugger there? Jugger comes in with 27, you're like, nah, brah. 28? Is that what we're doing around here now? A little overtake through the chicane right there, huh? Is that what that was? Oh, okay. Got it, Dante. I somewhat recall that now as everybody's talking about it. Yeah, it was like one of those things that eluded me. God, there's a lot of chests here.
What's that?
Okay, so we gotta light the lamps. Alright, there's one. Damn it.
Sigil arrows won't work on me.
Oh, really?
Sigil arrows won't work on this.
Thank you for the bits, Fernando. This is very interesting. We're gonna...
Allow me. Food now.
Oh. Oh shit, I don't want to do this yet. Freya, I don't want to do this yet. Don't open the door yet.
I never thought I'd come back here.
Oh shit. Oh shit. Okay, good. All right. Oof. Just I'm not ready yet, Freya. I'm not emotionally available yet. I gotta get this loot first. You need my full undivided attention while we do this. I know you really want to be at the altar of your wedding, but Daddy's got to get some loot. I need my emotional support loot.
Sigil arrows won't work on this.
Can I freeze?
Sigil arrows won't work on this.
Dude, come on! Ugh. Street name Danny, thank you for the Prime sub.
Sigil arrows won't work on this. Sigil arrows won't work on this.
How many of these can I shoot at once? That's the thing that I guess I get confused about here. Is like, can I shoot a shitload of these? No, right? Like you can only shoot 3.
Sigil arrows won't work on this.
Okay, so you can make bigger orbs connect. Good to know. This is how we learn. Trial and error. Beckdorf, thank you very much for the 17 months. All right, now that I have sufficiently filled my stomach with that of an apple. I'm ready to go do your
What's that?
wedding show. I don't know, Freya. What is it? Super weird.
Reavers, of course.
These the folks that married you? Are these the witnesses to you and your betrothed?
Watch out! It's a stone eater! It doesn't belong here! We must get rid of it! Careful!
Oh, whoa. Whoa, brother.
Behind you, brother!
Whoa. Whoa.
In its chest! What is wrong? Tiny monster! Drop! Got him! You're too impatient! Wait until it opens its
Oh my
chest
God,
to
Freya.
attack!
I'm trying to survive here.
Yelpa!
No problem?
Yelpa! Yelpa!
Okay. Oh. There we go.
This place. It used to be sacred. Now it sits abandoned, vandalized. Hopefully the objects I'm looking for are still here. The door is shut. If memory serves, we'll need to light both of those torches to open it.
Okay.
What's it say, brother?
The feast. The table is filled. Delicacies of both Vanir and Aesir origin have been prepared to symbolize the union of peoples. Succulent fruits to whet the appetite served alongside the salted, crisp skin of young hens. Gourds roasted and then sauced in honey and breads baked in the lava pits of Elja will be presented as a second course. An offering of Sramnir has taken the center of the spread, although many Vanir will likely refuse to partake. Nuggets of tender meat for the little ones have been piled high. Love those chicken nuggets. I hope they're dinosaur-shaped. They will not go hungry tonight. Last but certainly not least, casks of mead have been rolled out in great numbers to account for the thirst such festivities bring upon their guests. Tonight we dine as if Ragnarok will come for us in the morning. Ooh. Oops. Oh my god. Well, this is a lot easier when you do this. Damn it.
What's that?
Dude, all right. We gotta. Daddy needs to take out the mommy spore thing. Oh my god! Dude. How? Boy needs some health. Treasure map. The giant's toes. The Jotnar may have gone from the realms, but giants still rise above the veneer. My treasure may seem significant compared to its lush sweeping boughs, but I prefer to look at its room for growth. Hey, that looks like where Brock was. I just don't.
Kratos, I see something.
Yeah, what do you see? Do you see leaves that I'm supposed to have you shoot? Is that what you see? Because I see it too. And it doesn't matter. Oh my God. I'm gonna die because of this freaking flower. No! God. How? Thank you. Holy crap, man. Oh.
So much about that day I wish I could change. If only I'd seen the signs.
Incoming! Above you! Impressive!
Die. Die. Oh. Boy's got no use for plants. Historian. Oh, it's just the Auburn Crown. Veneer tradition is bound in the plaits of our Freya's hair as final touches are made for the ceremony. Bluebird blooms to adorn her locks and lupin oil to make them shine. Fronds bound around the circlet she wears breathe life into the metal. She is resplendent as the rains on a summer morn. All right. Through this door. Anything good? Looks like there is, but how do we get back there? I guess we'll find out. Oh, hey there.
Behind you!
The crest of the Hewley family. One of the first families ripped apart by the war.
There was one big problem with living in a peaceful, advanced society that sustained itself for centuries. When war eventually comes calling, there's a good chance you won't have any bloody idea what to do. Some of the Veneer families wanted to fight back against Odin. Others believed they could appeal to his better nature. The Hilly family split down the middle. Half of them took up arms, half refused to spill blood on the virgin soil of Vanaheim. A fissure formed between pacifists and militants, a fissure that might well have healed given enough time. They never got the chance, unfortunately. The Aesir killed them all a few weeks into the war. Quickly, indiscriminately, whether they died with a quill or a sword in their hands, they all died just the same.
My circlet's here.
It's on that pedestal by the balcony!
We must remove these creatures first.
Alka!
Right side, incoming!
In a minute.
It belonged to you.
A symbol of commitment. After the ceremony, he had a new one made every week, each more beautiful than the last. He stopped when I refused to teach him the old magic. You know, my people used to send me gifts too, so I wouldn't forget home. But after the birth of my son, they stopped too.
Yeah. What's up, Diddy? So Odin, I mean, I suppose fits his profile. Odin sees everybody as utilitarian to him. And one way that a potentially abusive partner can try to get a person to question whether they are being abused is to work to counterbalance the perceptions and eyes and ears of the person they're abusing. And one way that you might do that is through gifts and platitudes and giving them all of these things as tokens of this immense amount of love. And it can be really overwhelming if you're in a position like Freya, because she's not really into Odin that way yet. And he is coming at her so strongly that there's a chance that she would question whether she's in the wrong for not reciprocating it. Now, symbolically, there's probably some degree of Odin giving her these big rings as a way to show that he owns her. Like, they're beautiful, they're presents, but they send another message as well. But it's a really good way into overwhelming somebody into wondering, like, wait a second, am I in the wrong because I have not quite connected with this person or because I have certain boundaries? And as awesome as it can be in regular circumstances to show affection in that way, you also want to chill sometimes because you are passively reinforcing a dynamic in hesitance of the person that you're interested in a way that you really don't want to do that. So, yeah, Odin, whether you want to call it love bombing or whether you want to call it sending tokens of reminder that he owns her, or that he and she are connected in this way, whatever it is, he's trying to create a circumstance where Freya does not catch on, or Freya does not assert her own power and boundaries, where he's the one that gets to retain control and use her for what he has deemed her as needing to be used for. That's gross. Oh, before we do that, what Freya is doing right now is incredibly important, whether you want to look at it from a trauma perspective or just a self-empowerment perspective. One of the key components of working through trauma, traumatic events, or an adverse past experience that has an effect on you, it doesn't have to be a trauma, is to reassert your control, not just over the situation itself, but over the narrative that's been created from it. So Freya has learned a significant amount about herself, both via hindsight of her experiences and just in taking things away from the things that have happened to her. So returning to this area and symbolically destroying these items and revisiting it with her hindsight knowledge and learned experience is a way for her to reauthor this story in a way that is empowering to her and in a way that allows her to hold it in her mind in a way that feels more ideal for her well-being. Because the events that unfolded as part of the instance, whether traumatic or not, were things that she didn't have too much control over. They were created on her behalf because of Odin being the way that he was. So returning here with Kratos and reauthoring this narrative gives her the power to reconstruct what that meant. It doesn't change the fact that it happened. She has to acknowledge that it happened. But she does get to make different sense out of it, where she can understand what happened, take a realistic picture of what happened, and then decide what she wants to do with it going forward and how she wants to carry it. It's a very vulnerable moment. It's also a very powerful moment, and in a lot of ways, it's a key moment of how you might navigate something traumatic that happened. Now, not everybody gets to physically return to a space where this stuff happened, and you don't necessarily have to do that. You can do that in an abstract way in your mind by revisiting certain things and by reauthoring your narrative. You do not have to uncover repressed narratives in order to work through trauma. Doing some of this work, whether physically or symbolically, is very important because it reestablishes the power and control of the areas that you have power and control over. This is an example of returning to the place where the abuse happened or started then. In this case, yes. You don't always have to do that. But in this case, she decided it was important for her to do it.
I can't read that from here. Let's head back and I can take a better look. I thought I'd feel peace by breaking it. But I feel nothing.
Perhaps what you seek cannot be found in a circlet.
You may be right.
First of all, Tom, thank you for the sub. This is another fallacy sometimes that happens for folks. And I don't blame Freya for this, but sometimes we think that if we destroy something symbolically or we get our vengeance or revenge or do the thing that we think is going to make us feel better, sometimes it doesn't immediately happen. Sometimes it's because maybe that's not actually what we needed to do, and sometimes it's because the build-up to it is where most of the processing happens. Right? Like that, by Freya determining that she was going to destroy these items, she's already done some of the work, if not most of the work, and in some cases, all of the work. Actually destroying the item is maybe less of a release for her and more of just the culmination of the hard work she's already been doing. She's been experiencing. But by virtue of the fact that she decided she wants to change her orientation to the objects and to this day, she's already doing the work that she thinks she's going to feel in one fell swoop. And that's why you will often hear things like therapy is a process. That commitment to change is often even is a key component to actually implementing change. That like you may do some sort of symbolic gesture, But if you're processing it and you're cognizant of something as you go through it, that's the work. That may be why Freya's not feeling anything. Or she just wasn't sure what she was going to feel and thought it would be more profound than it actually was because it hasn't sunk in yet. Any number of reasons why that may happen, but that's a potential reason. Don't ever underestimate the power of the process itself. You don't want to always be outcome driven as it relates to working through stuff in your life. Sometimes it's about the actual process of working your way mentally through it. Yeah, like exactly. So Bector, that's a great question. She may have already symbolically destroyed the item. So now that she's actually physically destroying it, it doesn't really carry any weight because the mental destruction of it is the thing that matters a hell of a lot more than the actual item. At the end of the day, it's just a silver ring. It's not actually anything. We're the ones that download the symbolism into the objects that we have sentimental value into. Like, for example, Coconut Man. All he is just carved coconut with shells that somebody painted. That's all he is. He doesn't actually carry any inherent value. I've decided that the Coconut Man behind me has value because I've downloaded things into it. Right? So if Coconut Man was a symbol of all of the terrible adversity and trauma I faced in my life, he's not. Just it's the mental work that has to be done to break the chains of that. It's not destroying Coconut Man. Destroying Coconut Man doesn't actually take the shit out of my mind that's associated with him. And that's the point here. Is that, like, I first have to destroy what it means to carry Coconut Man. I have to rework my narratives that are associated with him and essentially destroy that bind symbolically. That's the meaningful work. He's just a couple coconuts that were glued together and painted. It means a lot to me. But that's all he really is. So I've decided that there's sentimental value in this. And that's the work that I have to do. Same thing with Freya here.
Left leg.
Get your chains out, Kratos. Thank you. Is that the same as when you expect to feel a certain way when you finish an exam, and when it happens, you don't get the feeling you expected? It can be, yeah. Oh, no! Anticipation.
Kratos, we need
Are you kidding me? I wasted the resurrection stone because I'm sick. God. Yes, it can be. That was hilarious. Good. I just totally wasted that.
Another mover to the left.
Yeah, no kidding. Great checkpoint. Big fan.
The word isn't complete. It's missing a piece.
Oh. It's almost as if we probably have to go up the other side here, huh? You gotta get up there somehow. But how do you get up there? It's fine. The plants really are more annoying than anything else. I don't know if this is a place to ask. I've been in therapy for stuff for like 10-ish years. I don't know what the point of therapy is exactly. Am I doing it wrong? Feels like I just say I have problems, then they go, yeah, you have problems. That is a conversation you should have with your therapist, of the fact that you don't feel like you're getting out of it what you would like to get out of it. The point of therapy is different for different people. Some people need a space just to talk things out with a third party who doesn't have a personal agenda that runs counter to what it is that they're talking about. Some people are looking for the expertise that a therapist can provide on some of the issues that they're experiencing and want real tools for how to change stuff that happens in their life. I do think that it is useful to conceptualize therapy as a goal-driven process. Why are you there? What are you trying to accomplish? What's the circumstance under which you would say, I'm glad I went to therapy? What would be different? So constructing those goals collaboratively and then building the steps toward that, I think, are also very important. Otherwise, it can turn into just sitting down and talking and feeling like it's quite aimless, when the reality is, like, maybe there's a certain set of goals that you have that you want to work through and need to establish. But if you're struggling with feeling like therapy's not worth it right now, I definitely encourage people to have a conversation with their therapist about that so that you can problem solve it with them. And that's not an affront to your therapist. You don't have to take care of your therapist's feelings as it relates to that.
Look, over there.
Yeah, I see it, but I don't know how to get in there, Freya. There's like no... Well, actually, there is a thing that you can light on fire over there. So let's see. Oh, yeah, here it is. Alright, so if the goal is I'd like to manage overcome is not a word I necessarily would use with depression, more so like how do I manage it effectively so that it affects me as little as possible, then that means that there are probably certain changes that may need to happen in order to move in that direction, and that's the kind of thing that your therapist can help you figure out using their expertise. You know, like, what are the contributing factors to the depression? What makes it worse? What can mitigate it? How do we create a plan of strategies of things that we can do and implement so that maybe the depression doesn't have as significant of an effect? Like, there's all sorts of stuff like that that can be discussed. What that is specifically for you, I don't know because I'm not your therapist, but that's a good start. It's got to be something obvious I'm missing. Oh.
This is a mystic fire. Its flames are short-lived.
Okay. Maximo, if you're talking about the article in PC Gamer, I already posted it in the Dragon Age chat. If it's not the PC Gamer article, DM it to me first, and I will I'll look it over. But for those who don't know, there was an article published recently in PC Gamer about my Dragon Age Origins playthrough. I encourage you to check that out if you are interested. It's a great article. Depending on how far away from this stream you're watching this, if you Google DrMick PC Gamer Dragon Age, I'm sure it will pop up. Or head to the Dragon Age channel in my Discord. Ah. I am genuinely like befuddled right here. I'm wondering, okay, so 1, 2, 3.
That's it.
Thank you, Joro. You getting healed by a dude? You are, aren't you?
Behind you, watch out!
Behind you, look out!
The hell? You, come here.
That will shut it up!
There. I see the chalice.
The chalice. Kind of ugly.
From the ceremony.
A symbol of reconciliation. We drank from the lover's chalice until we could hardly stand. I confided in him that night about wanting an apology from Freyr. Odin reassured me that he'd be the only family I'd need. And I believed him.
Abuse your partner 101. Isolate them. Isolate them. Isolation is one of the biggest indicators that a person is potentially being abused. You cut people off from every other piece of support that you have available. And you reinforce it by saying things like, I'm all you need. I can take care of you better than anybody else. They're out to get you. They don't know you as well as I do. You withhold their ability to connect with other people because it's easier to control another human in isolation. It's easier to get them to question their perceptions when they're alone. When abusers set boundaries like that against the support system of the person they're abusing, it's because the other support system is a threat to their power. Odin knows that Freya has a ridiculously tight relationship with Freyr. We saw that last episode. So he has to get her separated from Freyr as quickly as he possibly can so that she questions whether Freyr has her best interest at heart, and she turns to Odin. She turns to Odin and she questions Freyr, who probably would be like, dude, Odin's being a dick right now. Then he's got her. That's why isolation, and it doesn't happen immediately and it doesn't happen super acutely. It's often something that happens over time. But that's a real fast path to Abuse Town when you are isolating people out from people who have traditionally been a really solid support system for them. You will never need anybody. I love you more than anybody else ever could. I'll protect you better than anybody else. You hear these things in your relationship, that should send up a red flag. Yeah, this is a really good portrayal of the way that Odin maintained control and manipulation over Freya, because he needed her, and he leveraged that in a bad way.
Anything interesting, brother?
A blessing on the union of Freya and Odin on this day. Prosperity to the people of the Vanaheim and Asgard. As the sun shines and the moon glows, so shall the realms remain steadfast in peace. Here's another way that Odin was a complete dickwad about this, and really could further perpetuate abuse. He knows that Freya's core value is that she wants to protect the people that rely on her. She wants to ensure the safety of everybody. Well, when you spin it where you're literally the douche that's going to ruin everybody's day, and you're like, hey, you marry me, we figure this out, we'll protect the people you love, and then you have this public declaration of love, and you have this whole ceremony, and now people are like, holy crap, are we safe because Freya is with Odin? Now it even further puts pressure on Freya to stay with Odin and to question her judgment on it, because it means that, okay, maybe I got to take one for the team here if it means protecting my constituents. Like, he knew exactly what he was doing here. He knew exactly what he was doing. Appeal to Freya's desire to protect her people. And let me spin this in a way that makes it seem like staying with me against her better judgment is a way to protect her people. It's bad. Nasty. Yeah, Vanaheim could be considered a child of this abusive relationship, I think. But we do not want to put the blame on Freya for staying with Odin, which is what a lot of people might have a tendency to do, is say, well, geez, Freya, you should have just left Odin. It's not that easy. The number one reason people don't leave abusive relationships is because they're afraid that if they do that, their abusive partner will kill them. And there is some evidence to support that that is the case sometimes. So Freya can't just up and go. Well, she could up and go, but it would have a lot of collateral damage that I think would just riddle her with guilt. If she leaves that relationship and then all of Vanaheim gets decimated by Odin, then it's easy for Odin to spin it and for the public eye to move in the direction of saying, well, if Freya had just stayed in the marriage, we all would have been fine. And you essentially victim blame her. So now she is not only punished essentially for standing up for herself, she's put other people in danger because of Odin's propensity for abuse. The thing that really, really nasty abusers are good at is deferring all accountability for their abuse. They will always make it seem like the victim is the reason they did the thing that they did. Well, the only reason I hit you and try to control you is because I just love you so much. It's because you're so appealing and wonderful. I'm so afraid to lose you. I'm afraid that you're going to find yourself with somebody else who can't take care of you as well as I can. It's because they do everything they can to make it look like any assertion of boundaries against them, they're the victim. And that there's collateral damage around that. Really nasty stuff that Odin constructed here. You create this entire dynamic of me, I'm the one. You can trust me and only me. Staying with me means that everybody else is safe. Freya, you bring such great balance to me. I have these terrible urges to harm all of Midgard, but being with you, I've just learned an entire new perspective of love. Your capacity for empathy is so amazing that I could learn so much from you, and you keep me in check. I guarantee you Odin said some shit like that. I guarantee it. Because what better way to appeal to Freya in that way? You could appreciate that, as we've tried to do throughout this playthrough, and you can take advantage of it and leverage it against her to where she stays in this abusive relationship. And she's afraid to leave because it could cause harm to her, her son, and all of her constituents. It's a very carefully curated experience that It's easy for outsiders to look at and say, well, geez, Freya, you should have seen it coming, and you should leave whenever you want. When you talk to people who have been victims of abuse, they will often tell you that they didn't really realize it was happening. It happened so systematically and over time. There was never a specific point in time where they looked and went, oh shit, I'm in an abusive relationship. Unless there's some sort of like physical violence. It's because it's systematic breakdown. You can't, because if you go, nobody is going to willingly enter an immediately abusive relationship. You're going to look and go, no, I'm not dealing with that. Are you kidding me? It's having your guard down, having your vulnerability taken advantage of. It's what makes abusers so terrifying, because if we're not careful, all of us could be subjected to it and not even realize it. And Odin is a master manipulator and knows exactly what he's doing to get what he wants. And that's what's terrifying. And so Freya, the fact that Freya even is able to dig as deep as she can into empathy and into giving people like Kratos the benefit of the doubt, etc., is what makes her such an amazing character. Because it wouldn't surprise me if she was just skeptical of literally everybody and isolated herself out and was torn and tattered because of what Odin did to her. But the most important thing, Chad, if there's nothing you take away from this conversation about Odin being abusive to Freya, it's this: that the abuser is always the one who is accountable for the consequences of the abuse. Odin is the one who is responsible for this. If Odin blows up Midgard and starts Ragnarok because Freya left the marriage, that is on Odin, not on Freya. Odin wants you to think it was Freya's fault if you're a Vanir. Because then he's not accountable. He doesn't have to experience consequences. We see people in positions of power do this all the time. The quicker and better you can identify it, the more you can either stay away or push back against it. But victims are often led to believe by their abusers that it's their fault that the abuser is doing the thing. Oh, if only I'd known better. If only I'd set better boundaries. If only I had this. If only I had that. You were being abused. You didn't have much of a choice. Your safety was at risk.
The word is complete, but I still can't read it from here. Let's head back down.
I question that you can't read it from up here. Okay.
Better now?
No. The pain only grows.
Yep.
Will I never be free of it? What more do I need to do?
Will I ever be free of the pain? What more do I need to do? This is going to sound counterintuitive to most people who watch this, and I understand that. You have to let it breathe. Don't constantly try to escape and diminish the experience. You don't try to make it go away. One of the easiest ways to ensure that an emotional experience is going to grow and create a perceived sense that it has control over you is if you polarize yourself against it. If you're angry, if you're hurt, if you're sad, if you're confused, self-validation and acknowledgement of that emotional experience is not going to make it worse. It's going to allow it to breathe in a way that you are able to maintain a sense of control over how you respond to it cognitively and behaviorally. And that is the thing that's going to diminish this. Anger in this case for Freya isn't going to go away just because she wants it to. She's grasping at straws, trying to make it go away, rather than sitting with and reflecting on, where is that anger coming from? Why is it here in the first place? Let me get to know that experience more effectively. Is the anger there because you're mad at Odin for everything he did? Or is there anger there because you're mad at yourself for following through with this, for trusting Odin, for thinking that this was the best way to protect your people? I would have to believe that if she really got deep down into this, there's a lot of self-loathing that's associated with this, in the same way there is with what happened with Baldur. That all of her attempts to try to protect people have in some ways led to people getting hurt. Some ways by fault of her own, like with Baldur, and some ways not by her fault at the hand of Odin. Her hands were tied in some of these instances. But the more she can sit with the anger and allow that to be present and reflect on it and ask what it means for her and what it does to her orientation to the world, the better. That's the answer to that question of how does this anger subside. It's not to just try to destroy things and bulldoze your way through it and try to diminish it and say it shouldn't exist. Whether you want your emotional experience to exist or not, it exists. So you might as well get to know it better and reflect on it. It's not going to make it worse. It might heighten it a little bit. You might get more intimately familiar with it, and that's not going to feel great. But over time, that's the healthier way to orient yourself to it, as opposed to constantly trying to run away from it, which passively reinforces that you can't handle it. You can.
It's a denouncement from my people, placed during my wedding.
Traitor. Found outside a ruined temple in Vanaheim, many of the realm's buildings came to ruin due to a natural disaster, or the Einherjar. Freya's temple has fallen for different reasons. It appears that after she left Vanaheim, her own followers vandalized the very temple they once gifted her. Her people saw a marriage as a betrayal, a cowardly way to pass judgment on her actions. Oof. Oof, that's what we're talking about here. It's so easy to blame Freya. It's so easy to blame her, and you don't want to do it. You have limited information. Oh. Yes, Odin's shadow absolutely looms over this entire game, and 100% does. He's a powerful force, and he's not one to be messed with. What does that message say? We'll get closer and we'll read it on the next episode. YouTube, thank you so much for taking the time to watch part 13. If you made it all the way to the end, please leave a like on the way out. I would appreciate it immensely. I am so grateful that you have all taken the time to stay with me through this playthrough, to listen to the things that I have to say about it. I don't claim to be right. It's just a perspective, and it's one that clearly I think a lot of people are interested in hearing, and so I'm grateful for that. So thank you for supporting what I do. If you're binging the series, you're like, oh, come on, dude. I'll see you in part 14. If you're waiting for the next one to come out, get it out as soon as we can. Another cliff. That's Fimble winner for you. All right, friends. See you in 14. Follow the links in the description. Bye.